what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about the Vikings signing Hunter Renfrow, as ESPN did link Minnesota to the star slot receiver. Then second half of today's show, my favorite part that we do here at Chat Sports is we answer questions from you guys, from subscribers. If you guys haven't already, hit that sub button and lock us in. But before we dive into the Renfrow piece, I am trying to grow my Twitter following right now. So if you guys do give me a follow on Twitter, that's the handle, at Pat Sieps right there. I will give you guys a follow back, no doubt about it. So if you guys could, I would really appreciate it. Hit me up on Twitter and I will give you guys a follow back. But it was Bill Barnwell talking about Hunter Renfrow heading to the Minnesota Vikings. As when asked about Hunter Renfrow, where he's going to sign, he said, "What about the Vikings? They're set atop of the depth chart with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, but KJ Osborn joined the Patriots, and top tight end TJ Hockenson is coming off a torn ACL. The Vikings brought in Trent Sherfield this offseason and could expand Brandon Powell's role, but Hunter Renfrow has a much more productive season in his recent past than either player has had at any point during their respective careers. Renfrow would probably be competing with Powell for the third wideout and punt returner role in Minnesota, a battle he could win if given the opportunity." And I agree with what Bill's saying. Like, the Vikings wide receiver group is definitely top heavy. You got the two top dogs, but I don't necessarily think Renfrow would walk in here and be an automatic choice at wide receiver 3, since he hasn't really produced since 2021. Like, 2021, he was great. He was awesome for the Las Vegas Raiders. Him and Derek Carr had a great connection that season, going over 100 catches, 1,000 yards, but he's been in and out of the lineups the past 2 seasons and couldn't really crack that rotation. And I like a lot of guys during this Vikings wide receiver room. Excuse me. Brandon Powell, I'm a big fan of him. Even like, Malik Nolis, who's on the practice squad, Tristan Jackson, Lucky Jackson. Like, I like those guys as well. But we can focus on the big 3 here, and that's Trent Sherfield, Jalen Nailor, and Brandon Powell. And listen, these 3 guys, they all do different things well. Like, Brandon Powell is like that typical shifty slot receiver who can create, separation in a phone booth. Trent Sherfield is the prototypical run-blocking, big-body slot wide receiver who on, first and second downs where you're running 3 wide receivers, I think he would be a great option. And now you got the young guy, Jalen Nailor, 6th-round pick out of Michigan State. Like, he is a guy that I am super high on, and if I were the Vikings and I had to pick a wide receiver 3 for this season, it would be Jalen Nailor, and I would just kind of give him the keys, to that car and say, hey, you take off with it, and we'll see what you develop into, because I think he's got real juice. But I also want you guys to keep your eyes on this guy, Devron Harper. So he was a UDFA from Mercer that the Vikings did sign to by no means this was not a massive UDFA deal, but they signed him pretty early, and they gave him a $5,000 signing bonus and $10,000 in guaranteed money, and he was pretty good during his time at Mercer. He's 5'9", a super shifty wide receiver, and he was able to produce a ton, and Mercer was a huge run-first offense. Keep this in mind. But he went for over 1,900 yards in 3 seasons, 13 touchdowns, 56.7 yards per game. He was used in a dual-threat role where he also had a ton of rushing production as well there. And, when I watch him, he's a human joystick, man. I mean, you just turn on his highlights. Obviously, the competition is a lot, weaker than it would be in the NFL or even if he played in the SEC. But just wanted to tell you guys about Devron Harper. He's super shifty. He could be a gadget guy for the Minnesota Vikings this upcoming year, but I just think they have a lot more of a better in-house options at that wide receiver 3 spot than the most common fan thinks. But you guys let me know who will be wide receiver 3 for the Vikings next season. My answer and who I want to be is Jalen Nailor, 6th-round pick out of Michigan State a couple years ago. Who's likely going to be wide receiver 3? I got no idea. So you guys let me know who will be wide receiver 3 for the Vikes next season. Now, coming up next here, we are going to be taking questions from Vikings fans during our mailbag section. Absolutely love this part of our shows here. But if you guys want to get hooked up with a J.J. McCarthy jersey first, head to this link right here, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Get that number 9 purple and gold jersey for yourself to be rocking this year. I think this is going to be one of the hottest jerseys amongst Vikings fans for the next 10 seasons. So if you guys want to get one early, hit that link, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. I already got mine on my way, and I just can't wait to get it. But I'll put that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. X is vibing, keeping it with wide receivers, saying, who can make the roster? For me, it's Thayer Thomas. So, okay, I was going to do a video about Thayer Thomas because Kevin O'Connell, after rookie minicamp, and Thayer, obviously this is his second year, but he came back for rookie minicamp, which I thought was pretty cool as well. Kevin O'Connell raved about him and just raved about the growth he made from years 1 to years 2, saying he was constantly hitting him up, saying, where could I get better and all this. So Thayer Thomas is another name. Keep your eyes out on him. And that's also just another reason why I don't think the Vikings are going to, go jump the gun and bring in another wide receiver because, you got the 2 top dogs. They're going to take majority of the production, but you also got other guys behind them, like a Thayer Thomas, like a Naylor, Sherfield, all these guys. So, great call. X is vibing on that one. But EV saying, should Minnesota call Terrell Owens the TO? He's training for a return. If this was back about 15, 20 years ago, hell yeah, the Vikings should bring in Terrell Owens. But right now, probably not, man. I will say, one of the freakiest, athletes probably on the earth right now for his age. I'm going to look this up real quick. How old is Terrell Owens? This dude looks like he is still a cut-up 25-year-old. But, at age 50, I'm going to probably say no on that. But, EV, I appreciate you, man. Z Cool saying, if Sam Darnold struggles, at what point would you switch to the reins to JJ? Great question, Z Cool. I'm assuming we'll be talking about this a lot. So, with where the Vikings schedule is, and I'll pull this up real quick, there was if there was any game for them to go to McCarthy, I don't think it's going to come before the bye, so I think that guarantees, the first, 5 games going to Sam Darnold, Giants, Niners, Texans, Packers, and Jets in London. That's the first 5 will go to Darnold. I don't know if they're going to put him out there to the Lions game after the bye, even though that is at home. They could do that. But the stretch I'm looking at specifically is after the Bears game is when they have a 3-game homestand of the Cardinals, Falcons, and Bears December 1st, 12 p.m. And then you got the Falcons December 8th at 12, and then the Bears the following week on Monday night. If he is going to play this season, I think it will be December 1st against the Cardinals, but still my prediction is I'm saying J.J. McCarthy does not start at all week year 1, and then next year he will be the starting quarterback right away. But Z, cool, great question as always. And now my man Nope coming in here, great profile pick as well, saying, how are you feeling about your offense week 1 is coming, and the Giants' defense is going to be relentless. Dex, Tibbs, Burns, be ready. So me and Marshall Green, our Giants Now host here at Chat Sports, we've already been talking smack and chopping it up about week 1, who's going to win the Vikings-Giants game. And, my biggest concern, bar none, and this is a way too early preview for that matchup, that Giants defensive line, man. Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns. They are going to be coming, and they are going to be relentless trying to get to the quarterback. The Vikings' interior offensive line is not that strong with Bradbury, Brandel, and Ingram. And if you got to deal with Dexter Lawrence, who necessarily won the Giants that wildcard game a couple years ago with that interior pressure on Kirk that caused him to check it down to T.J. Hockenson on 4th and 8, still not over that. But I don't know about that game just yet, but I feel like week 1, the storyline's going to be Sam Darnold finally is stepping into his own. I'm not saying he's going to light it up for 404, but I think Sam Darnold, he's going to have a good game just because the weapons that are around him and that support system that the Vikings are going to offer him. But as it stands right now, Giants are a point favorite in week 1, but I'm going to be hammering the Vikes, no doubt about it. But speaking about Sam Darnold, coming in from Bobby Wags here saying, do you think Sam Darnold can lead the Vikings to the playoffs? Do I think it can happen? 100%. I feel like people are just kind of, Sam Darnold's a bridge quarterback, get him out of here right away. You go look at the comments under the Vikings Instagram page, anytime they tweet out or post anything about Sam Darnold, all the comments are, where's J.J. McCarthy? Where's J.J. McCarthy? All this. I understand. I want to see more McCarthy too. But people, don't forget, Sam Darnold was the 3rd pick in the draft, and he hasn't really had a fair chance to start in the NFL ever. Like, this is for one time with the team around him not being a backup because he was with San Fran last season, but obviously that was Brock Purdy's job. This is his job to lose. Vikings are going to be all in on Sam Darnold, and the Vikings' dream scenario right now is Sam Darnold leads you to the playoffs, leads you to the wild card, and J.J. doesn't have to see the field. All Vikings fans, you guys will see what Sammy D has to offer. I'm a believer in him, no doubt about it. But Mike Nintendo and Master coming in with the next question saying, should the Vikings sign another offensive lineman? Yeah, I mean, they should. There's just not really that many good choices out there right now. Like, you got, like, probably the biggest name and the most talented name is Connor Williams. But, with his injury history and him being, playing center the past couple of seasons, like, I don't really think he's that, great of a choice. But, my number one choice would be Dalton Risner. Who really it's just going to come down to if Blake Brandel can play left guard. If Blake Brandel is a good left guard, they're not going to even sniff the thought of bringing back Dalton Risner. But clearly Risner wants to be in Minnesota. But should they bring in another one? Yeah, 100%. It's still a weak part of their overall roster. But nope, saying I wouldn't let Vikings fans run away. Is revenge on your mind for what the Giants did to you in the wild card in 2022? Nope, I'm actually going to say no to this. It's just a completely different team. What was the biggest reason the Vikings lost that game versus the Giants? It was Ed Donatel. It was his prevent defense. It was terrible. Vikings had the worst defense in the league that year, and they still won 13 games. Still don't know how they, pulled that off. But, it was Kirk Cousins at quarterback, totally different team. And now it's like you got Brian Flores and Sam Darnold. So, yeah, I would love to beat the Giants, but it's not one of those situations where it's like, very similar teams, and it's like the Vikings and Giants are at the top of the NFC, and it's like, oh, this is our get back for wild card weekend. Honestly, no, not really. But if you're a Vikings fan that's still, watching today's show, like, do you consider this a revenge game? You guys let me know, as well. But if you guys did make it to the end of today's video, I just want to say thank you guys so much. I always appreciate the support here on the channel. And it's been awesome, man. It has truly been awesome chopping it up with you guys about this team, all year long. But if you guys made it to the end, you're a real one. Give me a skull down below in the chat. And then also right there, one last time, give me a follow over there on Twitter. And if you guys do so, I will give you guys a follow back. But thank you guys so much for watching. See y'all next time. Skol Vikes.